God'll get you for that one.
Maude is owned by Shout Factory.
God'll Get You for That, Walter, is produced for entertainment purposes only.
Sponsored in part by Findley's Friendly Appliances. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter.
He always does.
Yep. Yes, he does, in fact.
But not in this episode.
Not in this episode.
My
name is Tom Catt, and I am joined by my fabulous co-host, co-star, and mother, Toni Homeperm.
It is I, Tony with an I.
And this is God'll Get You for That, Walter, a podcast where we go over the 1970s hit sitcom Maude. And this is episode 73, where we're discussing...
43!
43.
You're thinking of my age.
Yes, it's
no, he's not.
My age plus 10. So, yes, this is the Commuter Station, Season 2, Episode 19, aired January 29th, 1974. Mm-hmm. And it was directed by Hal Cooper, written by Woody Kling. And there were a lot of guest stars.
A lot of guest stars.
Fred Grandy came back as Chris.
Yes.
John Hillerman was the drunk with the portable bar.
Yes, and of course everyone remembers him from Magnum P.I.
Yep.
I forget who was the character.
Cannot
the
tell
name
you.
of who he played, but I mean...
But he was a very famous character actor.
Yes,
That's sort of... Actor.
He always played that, later he was...
Smarmy.
Yes, smarmy, snooty kind of roles he played.
Yep.
Very different from
what
he played today.
Guy Raymond was the conductor. Will McKenzie was the skier /
Minister.
Minister, thank you. I was going to say mercantile. No, not mercantile.
He looked very familiar. I don't know what else I've seen him in.
I'm sure that
stuff
they
in the
did
70s, 80s.
Something in the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
Norman Barthold played the executive, and Muse Small played the girlfriend, and Gene Woodbury played the hippie.
The hippie.
And I think the hippie was the one who did the
song?
The song at the end.
Okay.
So what'd you think?
It was a cute episode. It was actually not very Maude-centric. It really wasn't.
No, it was very much based around the relationship between Vivian and Arthur.
Yeah.
And of course, Maude being Maude had to just
stick her nose in.
As per usual.
Yes. And then actually it opens up. It's a Vermont train station.
Yes.
And
midnight in Vermont.
And it's all these strangers that come in. We don't even see any of the regular cast as it opens.
Nope, we see people just being people.
Yeah, wandering into this train station. And I remarked the set of the train station
looked very similar to the train station set used in the Golden Girls episode where they are in Appalachicoby.
Appalachicoby, where the trains are always half an hour early. Yes, but I swear they recycled that set. I swear.
I'm sure they did. I think they also recycled part of Maude's set for Roseanne.
Could be.
I think so.
Could be. Didn't actually the Golden Girls kitchen was recycled from a prior show. I remember reading about that. But I think you can find on the internet,
on the interwebs,
they'll show you there's websites where they'll show you where different sets got recycled from other shows, and so it's always interesting to see.
Yep.
So
I always appreciate when shows reuse, or I think also hilariously enough for WandaVision, I think they used a set from Full House.
Oh, wouldn't surprise me. When they did that sort of 80s.
When they did the
episode.
80s show, yeah, I think they used a couple of sets from previous sitcoms. Mm-hmm. That was such a brilliantly done show.
It really
Very
was.
Brilliantly done show.
So
it is midnight in Vermont.
In Vermont.
Which is the name of my new tell-all. Even though I've never been to Vermont.
Oh.
Have you ever been to Vermont?
I don't think so. No.
I think the farthest north I've ever traveled was Boston. Mm-hmm. Was Massachusetts.
I mean, I've been to upstate New York, which is upstate
Westchester.
New York. No,
Westchester, Rockland County.
No, I mean upstate. As you're heading
Niagara?
towards. Yeah, which is
Buffalo, Chickadewa, all that fun stuff.
Yes, so it's pretty far. It goes. We forget that most of New York is this whole other big state.
New York is a very large state.
Yes.
It's not exclusively New York City and Long Island.
Yes, but we tend to think of it.
We tend to think of it as such.
It's really not.
Rochester? Who's she? I've never heard of her.
I know. We're like, who? She doesn't even go to that
She doesn't even go here. She doesn't even go here.
So,
the conductor is being asked endless
Yes.
questions. There was
Yes.
apparently a switch break.
Yes.
There was apparently a switch that broke.
Yes. So,
And the patrons are asking like what's going on, and the
Right.
conductor is just clueless.
he's clueless.
just clueless. But he says it'll be taken care of, and if you
Right.
have any questions, feel free to ask,
Yeah.
even though he will not have an
Won't
answer.
have an
for you.
answer. Yes.
So at that point, the conductor exits, and Carol and Chris run into,
Yeah.
and they're just they're so deliriously
Yes.
childlike in
Yes.
this episode.
Yes.
They're
They're
so
the
cute.
kids. And that's what how Maude refers to them as.
Yeah, they are. They
The
are
kids.
kids. They're kids. Listen, I still get called a kid, and I'm in my 30s.
I wish I would get called a kid
Well,
again.
unfortunately, you are not a child.
No, I just get to crack the whip.
Yeah, it's fair. You're right. You make a
I
valid
just
point.
get to give. Now I get to give the looks.
Yep.
Toss a slipper
toss the chocolate. Toss the chocolate.
like a boomerang.
Like a boomerang, almost exactly. So Chris and Carol enter, and they're like, "Come on in, guys! Like, it's so
Yes.
beautiful outside. It's so
Yes.
beautiful. It's so this. It's so that."
Yeah, they're the only happy ones.
They are the only happy ones because Maude and Walter, I think, are the next ones.
Yes,
to
they're the
enter.
next ones to come in, and now was it Maude or Walter that was saying, "I hope you're happy"? It was probably Walter,
I think it was Walter.
because apparently
We come to find out that Maude has been planning Vivian and Arthur's wedding, and Maude wanted a wintry wonderland wedding.
a winter wonderland.
A winter wonderland wedding.
And-
And there was a lot of shut up Walter, shut up Arthur,
Yes.
shut up Arthur, shut up Walter.
Yes,
And even Vivian got in a shut up Maude.
she got in a shut up Maude, but that's actually I think isn't that
That's much later.
Is that later?
That's later.
And as we find out, there was no wedding,
There was
even
no
though Maude,
wedding.
planned the wedding. And I think that's when Arthur and Vivian come in behind them after Maude and Walter, and we find out that and Arthur is complaining that he's sick, and Vivian is yelling at him.
The
to
4-hour
shut up.
flu.
Yes,
The 4-hour flu. And he's blowing his nose, and he's coughing, and he's constantly asking
Yes.
Walter to feel his head.
Yes, and he's sick, and I think that's about I think when everyone started telling everyone else to shut up.
Yep.
And
I have written down Jerry Lewis will put on a telephone.
Yes, Maude
for
told
you.
Arthur that she'll have Jerry Lewis put on a telephone for him, and he's telling everyone how he has this 4-hour flu.
Yep.
And Vivian
He says it was like the Hong Kong flu, except it comes from Taiwan.
Yes, so PC of Arthur.
So PC of Arthur.
Now, Vivian is saying, if you didn't want to marry me, why didn't you just say so? So we're getting a picture painted here that Vivian feels that Arthur
Does not want to marry her.
does not want to marry her, that he doesn't want to go through with a wedding. He's using the excuse of being sick to get out of getting married.
Yep.
So,
Would you ever use an excuse like that to get out of being married?
being sick?
Yeah.
Not for that. I mean, I've certainly used it to get out of going to work.
Well, I mean, who hasn't?
You call up work and you're like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sick. I'm so sick. I just can't come in. I can't work.
I'm so sick.
Yeah.
Please let me die. Thanks.
Yes. I mean, who hasn't?
Who hasn't done that?
Yes. I mean, sometimes you need to.
So, I've raced to the men's room in Torshik. Well, that's what happens. Because we come to find out that when Arthur is introduced to the idea of, do you take this woman Vivian to be your lovely and husband?
When it gets to the part where he's supposed to say, I will.
He gets ready to heave and tosses his cookies.
And he tosses his cookies. And she's telling Arthur that he's got a mental block.
Yep.
We find out from Maude, this is the
Third time. Because the third time was when it was at the Shriners Club and he threw up in his fez.
Yes.
At that point, I think Carol and Chris come
Carol
back.
tells them to stop bickering.
Stop bickering. Just go out and play.
Yeah, let's go. It's beautiful. Let's go play out in the snow.
Yep.
And Maude tells them, you should have fun.
Yep.
And is that about when
the drunk comes in?
The drunk, yes.
The drunk comes in and starts trying to make nice with Maude, saying,
John Hiller.
I'm well known for my Harvey Wallbangers.
His Harvey Wallbangers.
And he opens this box situation.
He has this whole bar.
It's a portable bar.
This little portable
bar. And it has 2 bottles of a specific liquor.
Yeah.
Glasses.
Shot glasses.
And just so much.
It was really cool.
I think it was adorable.
It was really cool.
I would do that for a drag show.
Absolutely.
Just like have a portable bar with me.
Right? My Lord.
Especially if they want you to pay for your own liquor.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Honestly, really, when I'm performing, I don't drink.
Really?
No, very, very rarely. If I might have like one cocktail.
I mean, I traditionally like to have at least one cocktail to not so much loosen me up, but to sort of like atmosphere.
Here's the other thing.
Uh-oh.
A lot of times, Frank, my husband, wants me to drive us home after a gig, and the last thing in the world I want is to get
pulled over
while
in full drag
and have to take a DUI test.
Oh my God, as a drag queen, that is hilarious.
I mean, to me, that is a nightmare beyond comprehension.
I could never. I get it though. That's why if I ever have to drive myself to a gig, I would be like, no, just water is fine.
Yeah.
And maybe what I would do is I would have one like at the very beginning of the gig, and then I've already sweated out by the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I've known quite a few queens in my time,
whom shall remain
nameless. I won't say the names until my autobiography is published, but I still have them written down and saved. But there have been a number of queens that I've seen that, have gotten like rip-roaring, plastered drunk. And it is not pretty.
No.
It is not pretty.
No.
And
it's also incredibly unprofessional.
Unprofessional. So unprofessional.
Do not recommend. Do not pass go.
No. I mean, I'm like, no. It's just
no.
That's a no from me, dog. See, I can be hip with the cool kids. I keep telling you.
Like hell you can.
So
you're about as hip as I am, broken. We're both from the Broken Hip Club. Oh my God Almighty! So the drunk has a portable bar, Harvey Wallbangers, and then we come back to Vivian and Arthur, and Vivian's waxing poetic because she's
was Maude still trying to get candy out of machine? She wanted
change for the candy, and she was banging on the machine, and she goes, "Fine, if you want it that badly, you can keep it. I'm going into the women's room."
She went into the women's room. So then we're back to Arthur and Vivian.
Yep.
And Arthur's asking Vivian, like, "Why are you so angry with me?"
And we come to find out that they were originally going to be married
in December.
When
Arthur's accountant
said, "Marry her at this point," because it became a marriage of convenience, and he could use Vivian as a tax shelter. Isn't that terrible?
Yes. And Arthur is like,
it's so terrible.
He tells her, "You mean more to me than a tax shelter." And there was something he mentioned about that was actually, he didn't need her as a tax shelter because there was something that was better for him, as far as taxes.
Buffalo.
Anyway.
It was buffalo, something with meat.
Mm-hmm.
Black Angus beef or black bear beef, black buffalo beef. Some type of stock that he could have put his money into.
Yes.
That became a shelter.
Yes. And I have that Maude was still slamming on the candy machine at this point, and that's when the drunk. Is John Hillerman?
John Hillerman
was sort of getting flirty with her.
Yes,
and I think that's about when.
That's when she says, "No." I I just remembered.
What?
When John Hillerman, the drunk, asks Maude if she wants a Harvey Wallbanger.
Yeah, yes.
Maude turns to him and goes, "I'm so sorry. My doctor strictly has me on mother's milk. And at the behest of my mother, I was told not to share."
And Walter has to tell him to stop
That she's
annoying
a
my
Yale
wife.
man.
She's a mailman.
What? A Yale
Yale
man?
man.
A mailman?
Mailman? Yale man. Yale man.
A mailman. That's a good one.
Yes. Apparently the drunk is a Harvard man.
Yes.
And so Walter tells him, Maude's a Yale man.
What does that mean to call someone a Yale man?
Because there's the guy, the drunk, he was a Harvard man.
Yes.
He went to Harvard.
Yes.
So Walter told him that Maude was a Yale man because Harvard and Yale have always had like a...
They've always had a rivalry.
rivalry.
Yeah, they're two Ivy League
Yes.
schools that have a rivalry.
Yes.
Is that all?
As far as I would think.
Here I am thinking it's something euphemistic, and I'm like,
No.
no, that's not that bright.
No. In this case, no.
No. So Maude goes into the ladies' room, and I think she comes out with a Clark bar. She goes, you can choose between a Clark bar or a Midol.
Yes.
And I think Walter says, "Why didn't you take a Midol? We're going to be here all month."
Yeah.
And then he says that he's going to take a Midol because
Yes.
he's dealing with all of this Michigan.
Yes. The train, whatever he was, the train man.
The conductor.
Was he conductor?
I think he was
Wasn't a conductor be on the train? I think he was station manager.
I guess we can call him a station.
I think he would be the station manager. Conductor would actually be on the train.
Yeah, but if the train is stopped...
But he was the only one in the station.
This is also a show where we can only pay so many actors to be extra parts.
Well, the conductor / station manager tells them they're going to be stuck for a while.
For a while, yes. And then he brings in, I think, wood to put in the furnace. That's literally in the middle of the commuter station.
Yeah. So Maude sees this as an act of God.
Yep.
For her to get Arthur and Vivian back together again.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So Maude goes over to Arthur and she's just like, "Come on now, let's have a conversation. Let's just have it out right now.
No. Now Arthur, he takes this that
he stops. He stops Maude because he's just like, "No, I have to go and tell everybody that I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor." So he feels the need. He has to reassure everyone.
So stupid.
Because he's a doctor, so everything's okay. And that's what we get a little bit of dialogue from Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
Who apparently claims he's there with his niece, who we're doing like quotes,
air quotes.
Yeah,
niece.
He says he's there with his niece. Obviously, she's it's not his niece.
She's a woman of the evening.
A woman of the evening.
I've been called a woman of the evening.
Sometimes we are.
Sometimes we're women of the evening.
And but we don't get paid. We don't get paid
Never
for doing women of the evening things. No, or at least not enough.
Not enough is right. Please.
Then the skier, who we don't find out exactly who he truly is.
Yeah.
We just he's a skier at this point with the broken arm.
With the broken arm.
He asks Arthur if he can take a look at the broken arm.
And what does Arthur say?
Of course, Arthur says, "Oh, I'm not licensed to practice medicine in this state." After he just got through telling everybody he's a doctor. Never fear, don't worry.
And I mean, this is all alluding to the fact that Arthur does not want to have this conversation
about the wedding.
Yes. About his relationship with Vivian. He does not want to address it, so he is going to avoid it at all costs.
So Carol and Chris come back in. They're telling everybody how beautiful it is outside.
Yep.
And Maude suggests that Arthur and Vivian
go look at the moon.
Look at the
moon. And Arthur says, "Oh, but Maude, I've already looked at the moon.
I've seen the moon."
And Maude says, "Arthur, why don't you put your head in a barf bag?"
So Maude then goes over to Vivian, and she tells her that she's going to have to make the first move.
Yep. And and Vivian says, "Maude, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So hit the road."
Yes. And I think at that point, Maude goes over to Arthur and tells him that Vivian hates him.
Yep. Yes. But then we have this very interesting moment where Maude actually makes sense. Where she starts mentioning things about psychosis and how...
that Arthur is having a psychosomatic reaction to getting married.
Yep.
And that it's something in his subconscious.
Yep. And Arthur's like, "You woolly-headed liberals and mental illnesses."
And Walter points out that Arthur isn't sick now. Well, now, all of a sudden, he hasn't been thinking. He's not,
Arthur actually said something that was pretty funny. Arthur says, "Has anybody ever seen a psychosis?"
Oh.
And the drunk raises his hand.
Yes.
That was funny.
That was funny. So Arthur he's going, "Oh, well, I'm cured," and he looks at his watch and he's like, "Oh, see, it was
4 hours exactly.
4 hours,
11 minutes.
4 hours and 11 minutes."
And Maude says, 11 minutes must have been a very severe attack.
Mm-hmm. And Arthur proclaims to Vivian now that he wants to get married tomorrow.
Yep. And Maude's like, oh, why is it you can never... Because I think Arthur says, if I had the ability to, I would marry you today.
Mm-hmm.
So Maude turns... It's almost like Maude had a to the camera moment where she broke the fourth wall and she says, why is it you can never find a minister when you need one? And then as if on cue...
the skier with the broken arm.
The skier with the broken arm says...
Turns out...
I'm a minister.
He's a minister. And Maude's like, he can marry you now. So, of course, what does Arthur do?
Arthur turns to Vivian, turns to the minister, turns back to Vivian, turns to the camera, holds his mouth and runs away.
He runs into the bathroom.
He starts to heave.
Yes.
And then... Okay, one of my favorite things for an actor to do is fake cry. Mm-hmm. When Lucy does that, like when Lucy did that. But when Rue McClanahan cries as Vivian, it is so hysterical. I can't help but laugh. Yes. I cannot help but laugh when Rue McClanahan cries as Vivian.
So Vivian's crying, and Maude tells her to cheer up. Doesn't she know that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach?
And then we cut to commercial.
Then we had a break.
Then we cut to commercial.
And we come back, and we're in the men's room.
We are in the men's room, and, obviously Arthur has hurled. And Walter is now trying to make reasoning with
Arthur, who's in the stall.
Still in the stall.
We only hear Arthur at this point. We don't see him.
Correct.
And Walter is asking him if everything is all right.
And that's when, Arthur's like, oh, I'm fine. It's just I'm reading all these things about Senator Herman.
And, of course, we stopped
the video, and we needed to. We were very curious as to the
didn't know who they were talking about.
We didn't know who they were talking about.
So then we found out that Senator Herman
was a Democrat that was putting together the Watergate committee to investigate Nixon. and the Watergate scandal.
Yes. So I guess that's why he was
fascinated by what was on the wall.
Yeah, I guess that's why Senator Herman was known at that time.
Yes.
Because of Watergate.
And isn't it interesting how, they were making this... They were making all of these jokes about, all the writing on the wall. The writing on the wall is, in a men's bathroom, is traditionally, very coarse, very curt, very abrasive.
I find it sometimes very poetic.
Of course you would.
Especially if it's a limerick.
Of course you would. There once was a man from Nantucket. But I mean, it's fascinating because, we had the Watergate scandal in, 1970, 1972, 73. Mm-hmm. And then today, you have the January 6th committee. Mm-hmm. And I'm not equating the two because the two are
very different
in very different ways.
Yes.
But it's just very interesting to see who is on the committee and what the committee is trying to do in terms of finding out what happened and finding the specific individuals guilty that need to be punished out. But again, it just, not to make it about this nonsense, but it's just fascinating how Hillary was on the stand for Benghazi for however long, and they still have yet to get Trump on the stand. Because he will incriminate himself. And just... Anyway. Senator Herman, we digress. So Walter asks Arthur if he's guilty over Agnes.
Yes, he wants Arthur to level with him.
Yep.
And Arthur says that that Agnes wanted him to remarry.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that she wanted one of the two things she wanted when she was on her deathbed.
Yep. Arthur, go and get married, and Arthur, get me another doctor.
Another doctor. I don't blame her for that.
I don't blame her for that at all.
I would have wanted another doctor.
If Arthur Harmon was my doctor, I would immediately find another doctor.
if Arthur Harmon was my doctor, I would probably call Dr. Kevorkian before I would let Arthur treat me.
Oh, Dr. Kevorkian.
Hello, Dr. Kevorkian?
A death facilitator. The death facilitator, Dr. Kevorkian.
I can see Dorothy trying to get Dr. Kevorkian for
Sophia. So Walter is continuing to try and reason with Arthur.
And Walter's saying to Arthur, it's got to be something.
Yep. And then I think at that point we cut to Maude now trying to reason with Vivian.
Yes.
Because they exit the women's bathroom and, Vivian's trying to put herself together all nice and neat and close up everything.
Well, no, Walter and Arthur, they never left the bathroom. They were still...
Yes, Walter and Arthur were still in the bathroom.
They never exited. They never exited. We cut outside where Maude is trying to convince Vivian that Arthur still loves her.
Yeah.
And so Maude now has a revelation. She thinks that it's maybe that there's some kind of hang-up about Chuck.
Because Chuck was apparently what was he, a half man or a something type of man in some type of football situation? Sport ball thing?
A halfback!
Halfback.
Not a half man! Look, we are so gay.
We're very gay. These jokes don't write themselves.
We don't know diddly squat.
Don't know the first. Why is there a first down? Who is second down? Who's she? What is this scrimmage line you speak of?
I know. I had like no idea what anything about. I still to this day, I don't understand football. I don't get football. To me, there is nothing more boring to watch on TV than football. No, thank you.
Does nothing for me.
No, thank you.
Never did.
So, Maude, she's kind of like asking Vivian, how are like things,
in the bedroom
between
we also
Vivian
find out
and
that,
Arthur.
We also find out that Chuck and Viv were married for 16
years. Yes.
16 years.
It was 16 years.
Which is interesting because if you remember in the first episode where we're introduced to Vivian, which was Maude's dilemma, we come to find out that Vivian had been married previously, like 6 husbands, your 2, my 4.
Right.
So who were Vivian's 2 husbands?
True.
I mean, granted, it was in the first season. They were still like trying to navigate the waters of Vivian. So
right. So
married to Chuck for 16 years.
Right. And what happened after that?
No. I have written down. So, yes, Chuck for 16 years. Maude, everything happens in one of your marriages. Because Maude says something to the effect of, a lot can happen in 16 years of marriage. Just take me, for instance.
Yes.
And Vivian turns to her and goes, Maude, everything happens in one of your marriages. And then we come to the you-knows.
The you-knows,
yes.
Yes.
So, it's euphemized.
Euphemism.
It's a euphemism for sex. You-knows are a euphemism for sex.
The
you-knows turn into no-knows if you don't know what you're doing, They're just...
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Sure.
Something here about Maude saying something to Vivian about the frozen tear on her fake lashes.
Frozen tears on her false eyelashes. That was funny. I appreciated that. So at that point, Maude goes over to the men's room door and she knocks on it saying, all right, that's enough. Walter, Arthur, come out of the bathroom right now.
She wants to talk.
And Arthur's like, I'm not coming out of the bathroom.
Won't come out.
And Walter's like, he's not going to come out of the bathroom. So Maude says, you guys are golfers still, right? And they go, right. And she goes, 4, and enters.
Just storms right into the
men's bathroom.
And
very progressive.
Yes.
Hilariously progressive.
Yes. And Walter and Arthur, at first they're just shocked and outraged that Maude has the audacity to, come into the men's room.
And then
how
at that
dare
point,
she?
Arthur immediately stretches out his arms and says, don't read the walls.
Yeah. Like there would be anything on those walls
that she hasn't said.
That she hasn't said.
Or
thought,
done.
Right.
Said, thought, or done.
Exactly. So Maude says she knows what the problem is. She believes that Arthur is comparing himself to Chuck.
Yep.
And Arthur won't talk about SEX. X.
In the MEN's room.
Yes.
So hokey.
Yes.
Such a hokey character. God bless Norman Lear for creating this hokey character.
Yes. And so Maude points out that Walter had the same issue.
Yeah, when she was talking about Chester.
Yes, he had a
who
problem
was
with Chester.
6'2" and a middleweight wrestler and also a Marine.
Yeah, but we also find out that, it didn't really make a lot of sense from the problem about Chester because Albert was in between them.
Yep. So you have Chester, who was this 6'2" Greek god, and then
Right.
you have Albert, who was this nothing waif of a man.
Yeah, there was something about him like getting worn out just going up the stairs.
Yep, he would get winded, and
Yes.
he would have to like catch his
Yes.
breath at the top of the stairs.
Yes.
I think Walter says something to Arthur and says something to the effect of, "Write it on the wall, maybe it'll help."
Yes.
Because we're still trying to figure out what is going on with Arthur.
Right.
We're still trying to figure out why Arthur has such a hang-up about getting married to Vivian.
Yep. That's what it is. So
At that point, I think at that point, Arthur's like, all right.
he wanted to be alone, didn't he?
He did want to be alone, but Maude was like, if you aren't going to talk to us, go out there and talk to Vivian.
Right.
Like, everyone is trying to... Have you ever been in a situation where everyone is trying to tell you something and you're just not listening?
Have I?
I could certainly say I have.
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so.
I find that very hard. I mean, do I find that hard to believe? No, I don't really find that hard to believe because you're a stubborn SOB.
I am stubborn.
And you're very set in your ways.
I am very set in my
And there's
ways.
I don't think anybody can sway you in a specific direction.
But I tend to be very diplomatic.
All right, that's fair.
And
logic dictates.
My modus operandi is always just to give someone, let them have enough rope to hang themselves. Is basically my MO.
Okay.
Which has served me well many, many, many times.
Are you going to tell us about any one of them?
No. There wasn't an instance though where I had to deal with someone, and I knew that like fighting about it was not going to get me anywhere.
Yeah.
So I took that approach, and I gave the person. I just let them keep taking the rope, and eventually, yeah.
They hung themselves with us.
They hung themselves.
Well.
And, it's like that saying, revenge is a dish best served cold.
If you insist. So, I completely and totally understand where you're coming from. There are people that will just,
Yes.
And that'll be a thing.
Yeah. And the thing about, revenge being a dish best served cold.
Yeah.
See, because a lot of times when you act in the heat of passion.
Yes. When you let your emotions get the better of you is where you start to lose your argument a little bit.
Not only that, but I find that you can't be quite as calculating when you've got that rage and heat. But when you're able to take a step back, contain yourself, really look at the situation, you can do far more damage to someone.
Mommy Dearest had a profound effect on you, didn't it? Just watching Faye Dunaway play Joan Crawford.
Pretty much.
Yes, I will do that. That is me right now.
Pretty much. But when, you knew somebody had had pissed her off, and she just, smiled sweetly, and she sat back, and, and
let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, you knew she was gonna get you. You didn't know when.
You didn't know when, but
you
she
didn't
was
know
going
how.
to.
But she would get you, and it would be complete and utter devastation.
Correct.
And yes.
So that's always good to know.
Always good.
Always good to know.
So I know everyone thinks I'm so just Mary Sunshine, so sweet and
okay. So they get ready to leave. They open the door, and
there's
the drunk,
Mr. Harvard.
Mr. Harvard,
and sees Maude in the men's room,
and he turns to her and goes, "Good Lord, you really are a Yale man." And then I think at that point they push him aside and
Yes.
they go into where Vivian is seated.
And Maude tells her that Arthur wants to talk, and but Arthur doesn't want to talk in public.
Nope. Arthur does not want to talk in a public forum. So what does he do? He takes a quarter.
Quarter? No, it was
a nickel. A dime. I'm sorry, a dime. A dime and goes to the payphone.
To the payphone.
But before he even goes to the payphone, Walter turns to Maude and goes, he's not going to do something foolish like throw himself on the tracks. And Maude turns to him and goes, Walter, that's not foolish. So Arthur calls over to Maude and goes into the phone booth and says, Maude, could you get the phone on the other end?
It's like two payphones right next to each other.
Yep.
Anybody young listening to this is not going to have the slightest concept.
The last time I ever used a payphone was...
I don't remember where the last time I saw a payphone.
It was in 2006, 7, 8, 9. 2009, I think it was. 2009, I think, was the last time I ever used a payphone because I didn't have my cell phone on me. And I needed to call my... I did have my cell phone on me, but it died.
Okay.
And I didn't have a charger on me. So I had to call my mother and say, I'm getting on the train to wherever where my house was.
Okay.
And, that was the last time I used it. I called and I was like, hey, I'm calling from a payphone. I'm about to get on the train. Could you just go to the train station and please pick me up?
Okay.
So that was the last time I ever used it. When was the last time you ever used a payphone?
I honestly, I can't remember. It's so long.
Long ago?
More than 10 years at least.
Okay.
I didn't even remember last time I saw a payphone anywhere.
Sometimes have them like on the side of the road where it'll be like one of those landline phones like that are in the yellow boxes. Yeah. I think that's the only time I've ever seen anything like that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they've gone the way of the dinosaur.
Unfortunately, they have. Hardly anybody has a landline in their house anymore.
We do.
Oh, well, of course you do.
Well, the thing is, my husband's had that line in this house since the 90s. And, people, that he's still, friendly with, they do call him on that.
Well, that's convenient.
Sometimes I also prefer to be able to call somebody on the landline rather than myself.
Rather than your cell
because
phone.
This way, it's like not... Because when you use your cell to call somebody, it's like, okay, now they've got your cell.
True.
And it's sort of like... They can call you whenever they want. Maybe you're calling somebody and it's just it's more of like a business thing or something, and
that's why some people
don't want them to have your cell.
That's why some people have two cell phones. One is for your home and one is for your business.
True. I don't want to be carrying around two cell phones though. It's bad enough.
Bad enough you have one.
It's bad enough I got the one.
Bad enough you have one. But then think about it this way: how many emails do you have?
A lot.
Thank you.
A lot.
I have...
But they all come into like the same mailbox. That's at least I have that. At least I have that figured out. It's not like I have to use like separate apps.
No, I try to exclusively use one app for all of my emails.
Yeah, I have them. Well, on this laptop,
the
I've got
emails,
Outlook.
the messenger, the instant messenger, the texting, the this, the that. Everybody can contact you through every single avenue.
Yes.
And it's very frightening.
Yeah. I mean, I get message from, Facebook, Instant Messenger, Instagram, TikTok now, YouTube, and email.
Yeah.
Regular phone text.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's always constant.
A never-ending barrage of emails.
Yeah. Never-ending message.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yes. So, we have to set this up. The two payphones
are next to each other.
Are right next to each other. And with just like a little divider in between them.
Yeah.
So Arthur goes into the one and calls the payphone next to it. Okay, so he tells Maude to, get the phone. The other phone that he's calling.
Yes, Maude picks it up and she goes, like, hello? Arthur goes, Is that you, Maude? Maude says, no, it's your answering service.
Like, who would it be? And, of course, he wants to speak to Vivian.
So, Vivian reluctantly comes over.
First, she doesn't want to talk to him.
She doesn't want to talk to him.
Yes. So she gets on the phone, and he says hello.
Yep.
And she says yes, and he says, "How are you?"
Such an idiot.
She's like, "What do you want?" And he explains. He says, "It's not that I don't love you."
Yep.
And so she's saying, "Well, what's the problem?"
Yep.
And I think that phone actually then cut off at that point.
Yep. The phone did cut off.
So that they're both out of the payphone, and he's asking her if she has another dime. Now here they are, they're face to face. He could just be talking to her. But no, he wants another dime to call her back up on the other phone.
Of course he does.
But of course, that's typical Arthur.
So
Vivian finds a dime, but apparently it was like
a 1911.
A 1911. So
it was a 1911.
Some
so
sort of rare coin.
Rare coin.
And so of course Arthur doesn't want to put that in the phone.
Yep.
So
he says he'll use 2 nickels instead.
Yes. So he calls again.
Yep.
Vivian gets on the other phone.
Yep.
And she's telling him that that she doesn't think that Arthur really loves her.
This is where the crux of the episode is living.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that Arthur is so afraid of marrying Vivian is because he is afraid that the only reason they're getting married is because Vivian just wants a companion.
Right.
Not
she
not
sort of
a
just
lover.
wants the stability of marriage, right?
And he
doesn't want a middle-aged marriage.
Exactly.
I think were her words.
He does not want a middle-aged man.
But he says that he does love her and that, she makes him tingle.
Yes, and she tingles all over the place. And I tingle almost all the time.
Yes. That in your case, though, I would consult a physician.
Thanks. I literally had to pause and think about that for a minute, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Cool, tight.
I thought I was tingling, but my leg had just fallen asleep.
Pins and needles everywhere. But I mean, all things considered, I'm gonna be anecdotal for a moment here.
Please do.
Before my grandmother passed,
mm-hmm.
she had lived, and even before we found out that she had cancer, she was living with her boyfriend.
Uh-huh.
And her boyfriend had been living together for, had to have been like maybe 7-8 years.
Oh.
And they'd been living in a house in Staten Island. And, I remember having a conversation with her. And my grandmother at the time was a very astute, smart woman. I think she was in her late 60s at the time. Late 60s, early 70s. And, I remember asking her, I said, do you love him? Mm-hmm. Do you feel that the two of you are going to be good partners together? Mm-hmm. And she says, Tom, when you reach a certain age, well, she didn't call me Tom. My grandmother never called me Thomas.
Right.
She never called me Tom. She always called me Thomas. She was like, Thomas, when you reach a certain age, you do want a specific companion. Like, mm-hmm. you want a friend. Mm-hmm. And, that's very fair. Mm-hmm. And I completely and totally understand. I understand Arthur's fear and I understand Vivian's resolve. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, for me personally, when it comes to finding a suitable mate... Mm-hmm. on the Discovery Channel. When it comes to finding a suitable mate, I want somebody that I know I can spend a lot of quality time with, that I can do specific things with, like travel and going out to eat and doing all these things. And of course you could find these in a friend.
Sure.
But it's another thing when you get to experience that with someone that you can also share a bed with.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And a complete life. A complete rounded life.
Yes, a very well-rounded life with a specific partner. There are, of course, people who can have a well-rounded life without the need of a secondary person or of a companion or of a partner. Yeah. But then there are those that, thrive on the interaction between people. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
look at Frida Claxton.
Look at Frida Claxton.
She lived alone and she liked it.
She lived alone.
Had no need for people and never did.
I hate trees. I hate people.
That would be a perfect example. Frida Claxton, she was somebody, she had no need for somebody else in her life, and she was happy.
She didn't need or want for anybody. But yeah, I mean, again, for me, that would be the most ideal. Someone to come home to, someone to share a life with.
Of course. Well, I think that's what everybody wants,
at some point in their life.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what you're looking.
And then you realize just how much you actually hate people. That's what I want. I want someone that I can hate people with.
You need to find your own Frida Claxton.
I need to find my own Frida Claxton. Just perfect.
It could be like salty and
there you go.
together.
Salty and sulking and pitiable together. I have written down marriage of love and sex, not just companionship.
Yes.
So they finally resolve.
Well, Vivian, I think she hangs up the phone.
Yes, Vivian hangs up the phone.
She goes into the other phone booth.
Arthur's like, she hung up. It's all over. I mean, God bless Conrad Bain, man. His comedy timing was like he played a really, really bigoted character, but his comedic timing was pretty good.
Yes, you have to remember the man was acting.
Yes,
the man was acting.
He was very much acting,
and
he played a very convincing part.
I mean, you just when you watch Maude, you just feel like he is Arthur.
Yeah,
there's no feeling like that. Conrad Bain is playing Arthur.
No, it's Conrad Bain is Arthur.
He was Arthur. He really he embodied that character.
Yep.
Just so wonderfully.
Yeah.
So, I think Maude says, that they're ready.
They resolve, they're ready, and they Maude then calls over to the minstrels.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, oh.
But I think it's in reference to the idea of a wandering minstrel.
True.
From Shakespeare.
From Shakespeare, yeah.
She was.
Being dramatic.
She's being dramatic. You always had in Shakespearean times and plays. You had what they would call the wandering minstrel. They were these fellows with a guitar, and they would stroll from town to town, and they would sing for their supper, and people would give them an alm for the poor, and that kind of
give
a thing.
Them a halfpenny, a tuppence,
yes,
a sixpence.
Yes. So she asked them for some wedding music.
And they start singing something about...
I have mama.
Yep. That's what we hear. Something about mamas.
Mama.
And she just screams over them, hold it! Hold it!
And she says, no wonder kids don't get married anymore. So then she
says something a little more legato.
Legato, yes. Legato. So they start playing something more subdued, yes. Subtle. She says that's better. So then the reverend, was he reverend or minister? I think
Minister, but it was Reverend. Reverend Martin. I believe was his name, Reverend Martin. Okay. He went on a skiing trip. He played hooky.
Yes.
He played hooky and got into an accident because God punished him.
God punished him.
Yep, Reverend Martin, God punished him. Yep, that's what happened.
God got him.
God did get him.
God got him.
God got someone.
So God did get someone in this episode. God got someone in this episode. I stand corrected.
There it is.
I stand corrected. God did get someone.
He got someone. He got the minister. He got Reverend Martin.
For playing hooky. So there. And he starts the ceremony. You call him, you refer to him as the conductor, and I want to call him the station manager. He comes in. He comes in and he's yelling all aboard because apparently they resolved the train issue.
And Maude screams at him saying, have you no dignity?
No, have you no sense of decency?
Have you no sense of decency?
Which is almost as good as...
Do you know the meaning of propriety?
Propriety. Noun. See? Etiquette.
Honestly, in my journal that I have all of my agencies and directors and whatnot, I literally have that quote, and I have yet to memorize it.
Memorize it, please.
I have to memorize it.
Please. Because I have the Eunice Burns part down.
Of course you do.
Have you no sense of propriety? Or no?
What are you doing?
Don't you know the meaning of propriety?
What are you doing in this man's apartment looking like that? Don't you know the meaning of propriety?
Miss Boynes.
Oh God. God, if you guys don't watch What's Up, Doc,
What's Up, Doc? One of the greatest
to.
movies of all time.
Great slapstick comedy.
And we had
Ryan
no
O'Neal
idea
and
that we
Barbra
each
Streisand.
knew the movie, so much of the movie. Like,
No,
verbatim.
I remember I downloaded it. Like
okay.
after the last time you and I saw each other last Monday, I was like, I have to download it. I haven't watched it in so long, and it's such a good movie.
One of the greatest movies ever
Such
made.
a good
So
slapstick comedy
fun.
movie.
And it's so funny. You have to realize there's like no sex. There's no cursing.
Nope.
There's no nudity.
I mean, there is Ryan O'Neal shirtless, and there is
Well, he's in his boxers.
There is Barbra Streisand in a bathtub.
Yes, but nothing is shown.
Nothing is shown. It's
Nothing is shown.
I mean, by today's standards, that would technically be rated, I'd say PG-13 at best.
At best. I don't even think it would get I think it would just be a PG.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think it would be.
PG.
I think it would be PG-13.
Nah.
Just because of the sexual themes of the movie. Like, not so much sexual themes, but like the gun violence.
There's so much worse on regular TV these days.
You make a valid point.
You know, I really think that, it would just be a PG. Actually, we should see what the actual rating was.
Yeah.
So we have to look up and see what it was.
What was
rated at the time.
And what it was rated at the time.
All right. So
at that point, it continues.
The minister,
the ceremony continues.
he just plows through it.
Yep.
So it's like
you, Vivian, take Arthur to be your lawfully wedded husband.
And she's
I will. Do you, Arthur, take Vivian to be your lawfully wedded wife.
And Arthur, yes,
he's fighting it back.
He's
holding on to it.
You can see,
and the camera goes to Maude, to Walter, to Carol, to Chris. Mm-hmm. And then, pans in on him, and he's like, I will!
Yeah, he squeaks it out. And so the minister says, by the powers invested in me, I now
pronounce you husband
and wife. And there is applause.
There's applause,
Yay!
There's kissing, there's hugging, there's carrying on, and then it fades to black.
Yes, and that was the episode.
That's the episode.
Oh my! It was a good episode.
It was a good episode. I definitely like John Hillerman as the drunk. Just that part really stuck out to me because it was so funny.
Yes, it was funny.
It was a very funny part.
It was funny, and as I said, this was not a very Maude-centric episode.
Also, you want to know that John Hillerman was also in What's Up, Doc?
That's right.
He played.
Yes.
I don't know if he played the concierge or the hotel.
The hotel manager. Yes, yes.
Manager.
He comes into the room and it's like when Ryan O'Neal as Howard is saying, now, "Is it possible that maybe I can get another?" And the guy, he's just like, shaking his head.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
The answer is no.
There were actually a lot of people from TV in the movie.
Yes.
The actor who played Boss Hogg in Dukes of Hazzard, I don't remember the actor's name.
Neither do I.
Famous, but of course I can't remember it. But he was in that. He was one of the guys trying to steal the jewels.
Yes.
And the guy who played Mr. Larrabee, I can't remember his name, the actor's name either. We have to look all these things up.
Yes.
But
I will say this. The only other actor I know besides Ryan O'Neal, Barbra Streisand, and Madeline Kahn is Kenneth Mars.
Yes, who played the Russian.
Who played him. His name escapes me.
I can't remember.
But the only reason I know who Kenneth Mars is because he played King Triton in The Little Mermaid.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He was also a very tall actor.
Yes.
He played in Young Frankenstein. He played
wasn't he the police?
Yes, the Gestapo police officer
with the fake arm. And that it kept switching.
Yeah. Kept switching every time.
Yes. And he do the thing, and he puts the dart in the dartboard, and he takes the piggy. He's like.
Such another. I don't want to call Mel Brooks movies underrated, but a lot of his films get a good amount of love.
Yes.
A lot of Mel Brooks movies get a lot of love.
Mm-hmm. And of course, your icon B. Arthur in History of the World
Part 1, yeah. As a matter of fact, I remember reading somewhere that B. Arthur was actually in the audience for Young Frankenstein, and every time I've watched it, I'm like, where is she?
Oh.
I want to know where she's
when they're doing Putting on the Ritz?
When they're doing Putting on the Ritz, yeah.
We have to look for that.
We do have to look for that.
We do have to look for that. That would be hilarious.
For your viewing pleasure, God will get you for that. Walter presents Blazing Saddles, What's Up, Doc, and
History of the World.
History of the World Part 1.
One.
And Young Frankenstein. Oh,
My
hell.
Lord, was there anything else we could come up with?
Too many things.
Too many things.
God'll Get You for That, Walter presents Whatever
Everything.
Happened to Baby Jane.
Everything.
We thank you. We thank you so much for listening to us
We
on
do.
God'll Get You for That, Walter. If you would like to
certainly
follow
do.
us, you can on all forms of social media at God'll Get You for That, Walter. On YouTube and Facebook. On
Yes.
Instagram, we are Findley's Friendly Appliances.
Which is also our email.
Which is also our email, Findley's Friendly Appliances at gmail.com. If you would like to follow me, you can on all forms of social media at that Tomcat. That's ThatTomcatt. Awful lots of T's. And where can they find you?
They can find Toni Homeperm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
And that's Toni with an
TikTok,
I.
and of course, ToniHomeperm.com.
We thank you so much for listening, and you will hear us again on another episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter. Bye, guys.
Good night.